Hi friends, today we are discussing an important portion in the chapter 2. Chapter 2, as you know, in Indian Evidence Act, it deals with relevancy of the facts, in which one important portion is dealing with opinions of third persons when relevant. The heading itself is very strange comparing to the basic tenets of Indian Evidence Act. Why? Because Evidence Act says that no witness can give his opinion to the court, but the knowledge what he has can give before the court. But here, from section 45 to 51, this portion of the Evidence Act deals with the perfect one particular evidence called opinion of the third persons. Neither he is advocate nor he is party, but he is a third person before the court and he is giving an opinion, and very strangely court is relying upon the opinion given by such third person. Who are those third persons? When they can give opinion, to what extent their opinions are reliable, are trustworthy, or court can believe such opinions to come to the final conclusion to reach the ends of justice. Let us see from section 45 to 51. So first of all, let us begin with section 45, which deals with opinion of experts. So third person here comes like experts. Who are those experts? Generally speaking, experts means a person who is actually having special skills or educated or learned in a special branch of any science. In order to give opinion, he should have a in-depth knowledge of that particular science, and he should be scientifically trained or certified in that particular branch of science. He can become expert, generally speaking. But in section 45 to 51, this portion is dealing with different types of experts, where even some experts doesn't have any education qualification. Because of their special knowledge in that particular field, they'll become experts. Let us see one by one. So basically, section 45, as I said, opinions of experts, it is dealing with when the court has to form an opinion upon a point of foreign law. Means whenever there is a question arise before the court, that court has to form an opinion. When the court has to form an opinion because of some foreign law, court doesn't have the perfect knowledge in that particular foreign law, or else court is facing some scientific or some other issue which is connected to the particular branch of art, or else court is actually in a need to identify the handwriting whether it is belonging to a particular person or not. Sometimes court may require to find out the finger impressions whether they are belonging to the particular person or not. The opinions upon that point, means all these points: foreign law, science, art, identification of handwriting or finger impression, on all these points of the persons, means the opinion of the persons especially skilled in such foreign law, science, art, or any other questions as to identify the handwriting or fingerprints are relevant. Means any person who is expert in these branches of science, that person can give his opinion to the court of law, and such opinions are relevant facts, means court can rely upon such opinions, and such persons who are giving opinions are called experts. This is what is the gist of section 45, which clearly says that yes, court can rely upon the opinion of third persons. That third person should be an expert. An expert may be in connection with some foreign law of which the court has no special knowledge, and any branch of science or art, or in order to identify the handwriting or finger impressions. In this case, why this provision is made in the Evidence Act means judges who are the presiding officers who are actually performing their duty, they are experts of law, but they cannot be expected to be experts in all the branches of science and all the branches of knowledge. That's why wherever there is a lack of knowledge, in order to give perfect opinion, we expect the service of an expert who can give the perfect opinion on that particular point. Then based on that opinion, court can come to the conclusion that whether to be relied or not to be relied. If we read the illustrations under section 45, we can come to know what is the perfect meaning of section 45. The question is whether the death of A was caused by poison. The symptoms produced by the post-mortem report can actually give the perfect reason of the death, and the person who has given the report of the post-mortem, the doctor, will become expert here. His opinion with regard to the cause of death is expert's opinion, and that can be relied upon by the court in order to reach the final conclusion in a particular case. This is how we may rely upon several opinions given by the scholars or experts. Some other example is given in second illustration. It clearly says that when a person is having accused of certain crime, whether at the time of commission of crime he was sound minded or unsound minded, it can be certified by the experts. Based on the certificate given by the expert in the form of opinion, court can take the further steps. This is how section 45 is very important. Next, section 46. Section 46 deals with facts bearing upon opinions of experts. Means generally a fact may be irrelevant generally. Soon after the opinion is given by the expert, that fact will become important, that fact will become relevant. That how it works, let us see in section 46, which says facts bearing upon opinions of experts. Facts not otherwise relevant are relevant if they support or inconsistent with the opinions of experts when such opinions are relevant. Say for example, in a particular case, any question arises with regard to reason of the death. Actually, initial prosecution case was like the case was with regard to commission of a murder, but evidence was not available. Soon after the opinion of expert, evidence was placed before the court in the form of expert's opinion saying that this person was poisoned. Okay, now question arises here that earlier day, one day before, one Mr. X who is accused of the case, he had visited this particular person with some box of meals. This person usually doesn't come to his home. That day he came and gave the box of meals, and in that meals only poison is found. Earlier, before the expert's opinion with regard to poisoning, this person's visit to the home was not relevant. Soon after giving his opinion that this person was poisoned, then all the other facts which are supporting the opinion of expert will become relevant. Say for example, some facts will be inconsistent to the opinion of expert. That day this person did not visit at all, but poisoning was given. If the poisoning was given, this person did not visit at all, means this person is not a accused, or this person is not have committed any crime. This is how either a fact should support the opinion of expert or it should go against the opinion of expert. In either of the cases, expert's opinion plus these other facts which were generally not relevant, now they became relevant because of the expert's opinion. That actually inculcated in section 46. There is a case law, Muhammad Aman versus State of Rajasthan, 1997, volume number 4, Supreme 635, wherein it is held that admissibility, the science of identification of footprints, is not a fully developed science, and therefore if in a given case evidence relating to the same is found satisfactory, it may be used only to reinforce the conclusions as the identity of a culprit already arrived at one of the basis of the evidence. That means when question arises regarding who the person who is standing as an accused before the court, whether he visited that place at the time of commission of offense or not, if already his presence is established by some other facts, then it is okay. Only based on his footprints, if expert's opinion says that yes, this is the footprint of this person only, then Supreme Court says that you cannot completely rely upon the footprints. Why? Because the science which speaks about the footprints is not yet perfectly developed science. That's why you cannot completely rely upon the opinion of expert in footprint science. and unless you have got some supporting evidence, you cannot conclusively say that this person was only has visited that place. This is section 46. Now section 47, opinion as to handwriting when relevant. See, first of all, let us see what is handwriting. A person who writes something from his own hands by using writing materials in order to keep certain information stored in that particular piece of paper or any other material where writing can be made with an intention to keep that information for the longer time. This is what generally we call it as handwriting. Now, when this handwriting will become question of fact before the court, and opinion as to handwriting when it will become relevant, and also question arises here that whose opinion with regard to handwriting we can take it as relevant. Let us see the section 47 first, then we will analyze one by one. When the court has to form an opinion as to the person by whom any document was written or signed, the opinion of any person acquainted with such handwriting of the person by whom it is supposed to be written or signed, that it was or was not written or signed by that person, is relevant. The section 47 is very clearly telling that yes, opinion with regard to handwriting can become relevant fact before the court of law, but who can become expert in this case is that any person who has got special knowledge with regard to a person's handwriting, and he can identify that whether his handwriting is there or it is not his handwriting. Who will identify this? Generally speaking, when handwriting of a student's question arises with regard to handwriting of a student of a primary school or high school, there his teacher who is everyday checking his handwritings, his opinion may become expert opinion to say that whether that handwriting is belonging to that particular student or not. Similarly, his parents can become experts to identify whether it is handwriting of that particular student or not. His close friends who are always sitting in the class along with that person can also become experts in this case, whose evidence is reliable or relevant before the court of law to say that this is the handwriting of that person, yes or not. This is how section 47 plays very vital role, that yes, handwriting question if arises, it can be relied upon opinion of expert, but expert is a person who is closely associated or he has got any reason to see his handwriting, believing that it is his handwriting only. One explanation is given in this particular section 47, wherein it says that a person is said to be acquainted with the handwriting of another person when he has seen the person writes. Means parents, they may see that at the time of their son is writing, their daughter is writing. Teachers, they may have plenty of opportunity to see when the students are writing, and the close friends who are sitting next bench or sitting in the same bench, they will be watching this person is writing, and his writing have been continuously seen by these persons. That's why they are called experts. In answer to documents written by himself or under his authority and addressed to that person. Sometimes if your close friend is there in some other place, he is sending some handwritten letters to you and he is putting his signatures below the letter. Continuously there is this kind of transactions are going on with regarding of exchange of letters. Then you have got sufficient opportunity to say that you are the person who are acquainted with his handwriting. Why? Because several letters he has sent and you know that what is his handwriting. Then you are also expert person. Or when in the ordinary course of business, documents purporting to be written by that person have been habitually submitted to him. Say for example, if if a higher officer is sitting in office and all subordinate officers are reporting to him by submitting their handwritten files, wherein the officer has got sufficient knowledge that in a day-to-day business of their office, he is receiving the files from respective persons and he can classify the handwritings that whom it belongs to exactly. This is how section 47 is playing vital role in order to identify the handwritings. Then section 48, opinion as to existence of right or custom when relevant. This we will discuss in the next part of this portion. Thank you.